Hey guys, welcome to Integration Week. How has it been like 9 weeks already? Like, how did that happen, right? Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. This is Integration Week or Integration live stream for our Integration Week. Well, it's a bit longer than a week because it was like 9 days and I'm not sure why this camera is annoying me this morning. Okay, cool. All right. There's a couple of messages that I need to share before I jump into Integration Week, but I feel like it's like part of it, right? So, say hi when you're here. Who's here? I can see there's people joining. Let me bring this up in here. Okay, cool. Cool. All right, just going to give a couple more minutes for people to join live, but there is messages, and I got the message. There is messages I want to share, and then I got the message, hey Haley, that what I'm going to do is talk about, like, pull a card for every day of Integration Week that we've had, and kind of discuss it from there, because integration really is about like, as I said, like whatever chakra is needing more attention or needing more support, that will be prominent over Integration Week. Now, you might have noticed it was a couple of them, or maybe it was just one in particular. So regardless, it's like whatever was most in your awareness, that's what is needing the most support. Now, the other thing that can happen on Integration Week is you finish a lot of stuff, right? You're like got this like inconsistent need. Is that how you say that? Like to get everything done, to get everything finalized, right? Integration is literally like when everything comes together. Do you know what I mean? Like it's like we're integrating every single thing that we've learnt. Yeah. So I'm just going to have a look at these posts as well in here. For integration, I know I did speak to them when I finally checked notifications again yesterday because I'm catching up, and I'm really excited. We've started putting together all the information on the website as well. So all of the posts for each chakra every day have been turned into ebooks, which is a little bit exciting. So like ebook workbooks, so you can download them and work through them, right? So it'll be something that you can take away. It will be all free until February. So you got what is it? November. So you got like 3 months to work through it. So there's another 9 weeks there for you if you want to start again and even go through another round for yourself. And then all the videos will be organized on my website as well. So it's a little bit exciting to start getting that together. Okay, so there's been a lot of like big realizations and big ahas and all of that, right? All through all of the chakras that I was noticing there. So, and like Sarah said just before as well, on the integration, my heart and my crown had an emotional day, but feeling grounded again after today. So, and it's like, you know, like when that emotion comes up, and it's interesting, right? My heart and my crown, like you said, Sarah, and it's like this, so my heart and my crown had an emotional day. You know, at the crown, you know how I say at the crown, it automatically pulls you into your heart, right? It's like, that's what's going on. Yeah, it's like immediately, and that's why, as I said, at the crown, like spiritual awakenings aren't really that nice, because it's like it pulls us into the heart, it pulls us into feeling, and not many people are comfortable with feeling. Society doesn't like feeling, and as you know, I'm a big teacher and advocate for feeling. Like, let's feel, guys. Like, let's feel. So yes. Okay, so I did, like, as I said, I responded to some of the comments, you know, and I know I've been a bit quiet in the group, guys. I haven't been jumping in as quickly as I'd like to, because I'm just seeing another comment from the other day. Why didn't I see that comment either? Yeah, and it's so interesting, like a lot of you guys are like starting to put into practice like what I'm teaching you guys already, and you're having like massive shifts, and I'm like, yes, because this is what it's about, right? Hey Corey, hey Nadia. So yes, so what I'm gonna do is, I got the message, and okay, so I got the message to share a message before I started this, and then I got the message I'm gonna pull Archangel Michael cards for one a day for each of the chakras for integration, and let's see what comes through about that, right? So the message that came through before I jumped on live stream, they're like, you gotta share this, and I'm like, why? So the message that I got is that it's okay to say no to something that is not aligned. Now it might seem like a really like, well, of course, Hannah, like, what is that message for? And it just came through really strongly just before I got on live stream, right? Because this is a big thing where we jump into, you know, trusting our intuition, and like when something is slightly off, when something is not 100% aligned, or somebody like tried to, you know, like keep trying to talk you into it, it's really important that you trust yourself over that, right? Because the thing is when we don't listen to ourselves, hey Tamsin, and we get further into it, it's harder for us to pull out. Hey Samoy. Now it might seem like a really weird message and a really weird topic to talk about, right? But I got the message to talk about this before I jumped on live stream. So I need to give you my personal example, because that's what it was coming from. That's why I'm like, yeah, if it doesn't feel right, don't follow it, right? Now it can be tricky in that regard, right? And so I'm like, okay, I need to tell you my personal example for some reason. So it's like this thing of, I don't want to share this with you guys, you know what I mean? Like, yes, the lessons seem to become bigger too if you stay longer. Yes, right? And this is where attachments and stuff like come into play. And it's like, you know, like I've been helping with a client, helping a client with it at the moment, and like all of this, it's like when, you know, and she even said it, she's like, is this, you know, she's talking about a past relationship. It's like, is this like, I'm struggling with all this, and I'm dealing with all this shit, and I'm dealing with like the heaviest part of the fallout, and he's moved on, like, because I didn't listen to myself. If I listened to myself in the start, I wouldn't be in this mess. And I was like, yes, right? Yes and no. And that's what I said to her. I'm like, it's a catch-22, right? It's kind of like, well, you've never made a wrong mistake, right? You've always made the right choice in that moment, yeah? But when something is off, you know it, right? And when you don't, and when I say you know it, I'm like, you see it, you feel it, you hear it all at the same time, right? And this is like, I don't know, it's interesting we're talking about this on integration, because this is where we engage all of our chakras, all of our energy senses, all combined as one, not just one. Do you know what I mean? Like, this is where we're activating all of them. So when we don't listen to ourselves in the start, it gets into an entangled mess. And that's when it, you know, feels like death when it falls apart, because actually what you've done, so say like for example with a relationship, so you go into this relationship, you're like, oh, something feels off, oh, but I'm going to keep going anyway. And then, you know, like giving away your power, right? Because you didn't trust yourself, right? So you go into this relationship, you didn't trust yourself enough to leave the relationship when there was kind of the first little bits off, right? And so because you didn't trust yourself, say like spirit's over here, and like you didn't trust yourself, so you kind of attach into this instead of staying connected to your spiritual resources, right? Remember we talk about plugging into the right source and blah 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 and sacral and what have you. So it's like, because you didn't, what you've done is you've quote unquote abandoned your connection, right? And you've connected into this. So then when there's stuff, it feels like death, because your connection's not there. Now, it's not that your connection's not there, but your conscious awareness of the connection's not there, and you'll feel abandoned and you'll feel stuff stronger because it's actually what you've done to your own internal trust self, if that makes sense. Now, I just want to point out that any relationship can go unhealthy, and any unhealthy relationship can turn back to healthy, but it takes two willing people to be able to do that. Now, I feel like I'm going a little bit off track, and I don't even know why I've been called to share this on integration, but it was coming through, and I feel like I'm going off track because of the actual message that I wanted to share around going off track. Going off track, right? Because the message that I was getting before, and I was like, why do I have to share that? I'm like, that's just like my personal stuff going on, like, you know, in a sense, like personal and not. So I have a client that was wanting to book in, but it was on his terms, and I'm like, no, like, you know, it was like, you know, sharing all this stuff, and then he's like, well, you know, like, how about we do it this way? And I'm like, well, did you read what was on my thing? And I just said to him, I was like, look, it doesn't seem like we're a match to work together. You know, like when my clients know they want to work with me, they book in, that just kind of no even questions about it. They just book in straight away. You know, and by the way, I've created my reality like that. I've journaled like that. So when somebody's trying to tell me how to do my business and booking it, I'm like, no, that's not how I work, sorry. Like, we are not a match. And this is where I'm saying, like, you know, and then it was like this thing I could feel like he was like trying to like, what's the word? Trying to, what's the correct word here? Like, trying to, I can't think of the correct word, like trying to put his point across. And I started to feel a little bit confused, and I was like, well, no, hang on a sec. I'm like, no, this is not how it works, right? Clearing the path, yes. Clearing the path. And, yeah, overpower me. But I guess what it was, and I was like getting ready, and like this was happening, and like I was like, I need to share this, and I'm like, I don't want to share this. Like, take control. Yeah, and I just want to point this out, right? So my intuition was clear. I'm like, well, this is how my clients book in. This is how I run my business. And in my head, I'm like, this is how I've created my business, right? There's ways you create it. And I'm like, who has an empire where somebody tells Richard Branson how to book in with them? Like, no, it doesn't work that way. I'm sorry. Anyway, so the point is, like, if I was to doubt myself or move away from my values and what's important to me, that's when I start disconnecting from myself. Because I was even thinking about it. I'm like, wow, the old Hannah would have like bowed to that and gone and done that. And I'm like, wow, I've grown. You know what I mean? And it's kind of like you know, because it was like, because I said no, he was like, oh, whoa. And I was like, well, I'm like, you myself, I'm like, you've proved it even more that we're not aligned to work together. And I was like, doesn't sound like I'm the right healer for you. I trust the universe will guide you to the right place. And I just left it at that. So it was like in that space, and, you know, but it's like the same as any relationship, right? And this is where I always talk about, we pick up other people's subconscious stuff all the fucking time, right? Yeah, it is easy to fall into that, into the people pleasing, right? And this is where it's like your self-worth, your self-confidence, your trust in yourself, your belief in yourself. But what keeps those strong? What keeps those strongs? What keeps them strong is being super clear on what you value, on what's important to you. Those factors keep you in alignment with your boundaries. If you're not clear on what's important to you, on what you value, your boundaries will not be in existence. Your boundaries are what help you to say no. Your boundaries are what support your self-worth. Your boundaries are what protect yourself or keep you in alignment or keep you connected to your spiritual resources, to keep you connected to your intuition, to trust your intuition. You must be clear on what it is that you value, right? If you don't know what you don't value or how do you figure that out, it's like, okay, so write down 10 things about a relationship that you hate, right? Because we're usually very clear about what we hate in a relationship, right? So if you don't know what you value, write down what you hate in a relationship. I hate that there's no communication. I hate that this happens, blah, 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 right? And then when you write down the 10 of what you hate, then you write down the opposite of that. So I value communication. I value integrity. I value honesty, or whatever it is that comes up, right? So yes. So it just depends, you know, like, and when you come across people like that, and I was even thinking about it, and I'm like, oh, here's a blog coming through, like, you know, I was just getting information, because I'm like, I've said to myself in the past that I wouldn't like blog about, so anyway, the point is like, I've noticed there's a pattern that when people are not on their life purpose, they will try and tell you every single way to do something. Yeah? When people are not on their life purpose, they will try and tell you every single way to do something. And what I mean by that, and I am talking about spiritual people here, right? So that's kind of all of us. And please know I'm not talking about any of you guys in the group here. This potential client was someone I'd actually never spoken to before, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, the point is, from what he shared, he was in a lot of spiritual groups. And I even posted something yesterday about spiritual ego and like the yogis and stuff, like being in the inflated righteousness. That's a control. That's a, extreme of the solar plexus or of anything really. And it does come across in those groups. And I guess the point that I'm sharing is that when somebody has a lot of knowledge to share and they're not on life purpose properly, like in a sense of like, I guess for my example, like for many years when I first spiritually awakened, I was like, every single person I come across, I'm like, I can fix you. I can do this healing and I can do this. And hang on a sec, let me get my book. Hang on, I can do a reading. Oh, and they tell me something. And I'm like, oh, that's because of da-da-da-da-da. And they thought I was crazy, right? I'm like, that's why I lost a lot of friends. Anyway, the point is I'm sharing is like, I tried to help and fix and heal every single person that I come across in the street. It wasn't that it was a bad thing. I wasn't channeling my knowledge into the correct way that was going to reach the masses and actually shift the planet and what I'm supposed to do here, right? Until I started, I was doing in-person workshops, that was okay, but when I started being able to blog and create online, I was like, whoa, hello, here we go. And now you see me today, right? My need to help every single person I bump into in the street or even speak about what I do is absolutely non-existent. I would rather hear how they're going. And most of the time they never even ask me how I'm going, let alone what I do. Not that I have many conversations with strangers in the street anymore, but you get the drift, right? I would be constantly like trying to help everybody until my channel for my life purpose came and I was able to put all this knowledge from all the chakras and all my psychic senses and everything that we've gone through and everything that we're aware of and everything that we pick up and everything that we sense about every single thing on the planet, let alone people and blah, 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 right? When we are able to channel that, our need to feel good enough or validated disappears. Doesn't mean that we don't feel good enough. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I still get nervous when I come on live stream at times. I still get nervous when I teach a yoga class. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, but that inconsistent, like, oh, well, I do this and 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 I do this, especially in private messages. Oh, I do this and I do this and I do this and I do this and I do this. Especially in private messages, I'm like, I don't care. Right? And I'm like, I guess because I was questioning that, and I'm like, oh, because they're not channeling that into their life purpose. I'm like, well, when you're ready to step onto your life purpose, I can help you with that. Until then, I'm not really interested because I'm doing my purpose. Do you know what I mean? It's like, and that's the clear boundary where, I would have a conversation with people like that, but now I've got really strong, clear boundaries in my business as well as in my personal life. That's not there anymore. I'm happy to support people who are willing to do the work. If they're not willing to do the work, I'm not really interested. I have enough free content to be able to shift you guys. If you're not really willing to do that, I'll speak to you when you're ready. You know what I mean? It's not a judgment. It's just like, I need to continue doing what I'm doing, right? So Christine says, I was super clear with my sexual harassment case. Then I thought, oh, well, my manager will know better. So I gave up power. And this is the thing, right? So when we're really clear, and then they'll be like, oh, but. And then we're like, oh, well, I don't know. Oh, maybe they're right. Oh, yeah. And that's when we go into doubting yourself. That's when we go into doubting ourselves. Oh, maybe they do. And that's when we get confused. And that's when we don't trust ourselves. And that's when we're like, oh, okay, maybe. Okay. Right? And as I teach in module 1, to be able in trust intuition, it's like being able to distinguish and understand what emotions are going through the grief cycle, so you know who your stuff is and someone else's stuff, so that when you have, and that strong sense of connection with self, self-care and self, you know, like all those things that connect us all the time, when we are clear and on point with those all the time. And it's not like, you know, I mean, nobody's perfect. Do you know what I mean? Like I fall off the bandwagons at times, and I'm like, why did I do that again? It's not like, oh shit, I did it again. It's just like, right, I need to fucking exercise. I need to do this. I need to do that. Like, I'm very clear about what I need to do. And I don't make any decisions until I'm back into that clear space, because then all my problems go away, because I'm like, oh, I just need it to be connected, right? The correct avenue and client boundaries are extremely important. 100%. Oh, so important. You know, and the thing is like, if I was doubting that the universe had my back, if I was fearful and in lack and scarcity of money or not being supported or anything like that, I probably would have catered to that man's needs. And I'm like, that would have gone against all my ethics and all my boundaries and everything like that, and it would have ended up in a great big fucking mess, right? When I say no to him, I'm just like, you know, it's what just dropped into mind, but it's not this, but it is at the same time. It's like when, you know, like they say in like multi-level marketing and stuff like that, like, you know, every no is closer to a yes and all this sort of thing. That's not kind of where I was coming from when I said no to him, but I'm just like, you know, I'm literally showing the universe like that I fully trust that I'm supported. Like, do you know what I mean? It's kind of like, that's not in alignment, so something else is. And when we stay clear to what is in alignment for us, everything in alignment continues to be in alignment. Yeah? If something is 1% off, right? And I speak about this a lot. So we've got our purpose and you know, we're going along. And then if something is like 1% off, it's like, you know, a little bit of degree off. So we go a degree and we continue going along. And what happens, that 1 degree turns into this because it's just 1 degree off, right? Do you know what I mean? Like if you can imagine a car driving along the road, and if it's just like tiny little bit off, you're going to end up out there eventually. Do you know what I mean? No to him is yes to you. Yeah, 100%. 100%. Yeah, I saw that and let someone in. Is that Pinky? Yeah. I almost did it, and I'm like, oh, because I always check who they are from, but I saw that you had added her somewhere, and I was like, she must be fine. She must be fine. Okay. All right, so I'm going to pull cards. For some reason, I needed to talk about that, right? Oh, thanks. I'm going to call you Princess because that's your Facebook name. Trust, yeah. And it's kind of like, there's not even any doubt in it. Do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like I've come too far to even, I don't know, especially with the incidences that have happened, you know, in the group as we've gone through this chakra journey as well. You know, like, there's been a lot of stuff, like, come up for everybody, myself included. Like, every time that I go through it, it's like that. So... yeah, I was just like, I'm like, why did I have to talk about that? Well, boundaries. I guess what all of that I just spoke about, and I'm sure more will come up when I pull the cards on this chakra day, is that this is putting into practice, putting into physical reality, grounding into physical reality, everything that we've kind of learned. Do you know what I mean? This is about taking it from the spiritual ethers and actually bringing it into physical manifestation. Do you know what I mean? Like, this is how we walk it. This is how we be super aware of all this energy and everything that's going on, and have, you know, like, without the boundaries, without integrity, without being clear in what your code of ethics are, and being clear in, you know, like, what it is you do, why you do it. Why is very important. Where are you coming from? Your intention behind everything is what will surface. If you're coming from a fear and lack and scarcity place, that's what will surface. If you're coming from a trust and abundant and alignment space, that's what will surface. I almost shared a thing on my page this morning when I logged onto Facebook, and you know how the memories come up, and it said something about your energy doesn't lie. You can put on whatever facade you really want to say, but your energy doesn't lie. And people like us in this group, we're empaths. We sense all the energy. All of it. Yeah, you just spoke about this, yeah. Right, this is about putting all of our spiritual knowledge into practice, right? So say we like have this awareness of like all this whatever, right? And then we start doing sessions or healings or whatever it is, right? But we're only like, we're not kind of engaging all of the chakras, you know, like it's like just depending on like where you're coming from with that space. It's like if there's a little bit of a gap, right, it's going to show. Yeah. Now that's very different to trusting every single aspect, because, you know, like in the start, it's like it's tingling, you know, like in the start, like I said, I'd walk around and freaking tell everybody how to heal everything because I knew, and I was like, well, I need to tell people how to fix themselves, and like, I just didn't have the correct avenue. Would I change that back then? No. Because it's made me become who I am. I had so many fears when is it Megan? Megan. I don't know how you pronounce that, Megan. I had so many fears when I put my manager first. This helps so much. Thanks, Hannah. Okay, cool. I'm obviously needing to speak about this. I'm like, why would I have to speak about this? I'm like, well, we're actually putting it into practice. Putting everything we've learned into practice. Now, I want to say too, it's not always easy when we first step up and start doing that. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not easy at all. It was quite easy for me to do that with that client this morning because I'm in a very, I guess, strong space and a very, I don't know, there's been too many signs, and like, it's just like, and I've done it several times saying no to something that's not aligned because I know where that ends up. It's kind of like you learn from your mistakes, right? All right, I'm going to pull cards. So I'm going to do like a chakra a day, like a card for a chakra day. For some reason, Archangel Michael, and I just feel like so much more information is going to come through from what we've just spoken about there. I know, it's exciting that I had to talk about that. It's not what I thought I was going to end up talking about, but yeah. Teaches me how to trust. Yep, the perspective you shared makes it so much easier to face the unknown as certainty and stuff. I can come from a place of knowing and excitement now. Yeah. And that's the thing, you know, like, and I guess the other thing that just come to mind when you said that is like, you know, when you resonate with certain people and then there's other people you don't resonate with. And as you go along in your spiritual journey in your life, blah, 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 you might come, you know, into periods of time where you kind of grow at crossroads and you're like, I need to leave this space, and you go this way and you come into more and more and more and more alignment, right? When you like continue trusting that, you know, like it applies to your business too. So you might like get really like strong in, like you start, you know, moving away from friendships that aren't, and relationships that aren't in alignment anymore, and it's a bit of a lonely space, and then you attract all these new friends and all these, you know, people who get you. Then you start doing a spiritual business, and then it comes into a point where you just kind of like, you're building a business and you just want to like get money in, you want to help people, you want to do, you know, whatever. And then it comes in, you go through the same sort of process. You're like, actually, I only want to work with people who are willing to do the work. I only want to work with people who are aligned with my energy. I only want to work with people who get it, right? Because it's the same thing. It's like, you know, there's 7 billion people in the world, not 74 billion. You know, it's kind of like when we remember that there's 7 billion people in the world, it's like, yes, we want to change the world, but there's also an alignment that comes, you know, and this is where I'm passionate about teaching you guys in Trust Intuition, because I know that people who resonate with, say, people in my Trust Intuition tribe who are going, you know, want to do the practitioner certification and then start stepping out and all of that, it's like there is people that resonate with you guys that don't resonate with me. And there's a reason for that, because I can't help 7 billion people in the world. Right? Not individually. Collectively, I can. By doing my internal work and supporting the people who are willing to do the work, because then they pass that on. It's the ripple effect, right? That's how we change the world. But that's how we trust in our connection and what we're being called to do, exactly one by one. Yeah? One by one. Yes. Yeah. Because that's the thing, you need to start putting into practice. Yep, life purpose, here I come. Yep. People who come start working with me are ready to step onto their life purpose. That's what I do. Right? And your life purpose is unique to you. Yes, you might take, my teachings and put it in your own words and go do the same thing. And I'm like, I want you to do that if you've got the correct training from me. I'm more than happy for anyone in my Trust Intuition, in the Life Purpose Mentorship, to go and do that. I encourage it. Because you're going to have your spin on it. You're going to have your thing on it. Like I teach about the chakras. The chakras have been around for like eons. I just teach them in a slightly different way. Every time we teach something, every time we step up and do it as well, we're going through it ourselves. Well, there's a difference between learning something and there's a difference between stepping up and teaching it, and we learn in a different way as well. Our soul's evolution and growth grows in a different way. All right, I'm going to pull okay, so this is the crown chakra, right? Check it out. Explore your options. Archangel Michael, dear God, thank you for your wisdom and love. This is crown. Helping me see, understand, and assess all my alternative options. Please guide me in the best direction for my health, happiness, and life purpose. Explore your options. Crown chakra opens. Allow the light in. Allow all that energy to come through and down. Bring those ideas down to the ground. Explore your options, right? Open yourself up to receiving support. If you are closed, you're not going to see the options. You're not going to know the options. You're not even going to think that there's options, right? It's the difference between open-mindedness and closed-mindedness, right? The closed-mindedness is like, I can teach you, I can do this, I can do that, I can do that, I can do that, I can do that, rather than going, actually, Spirit, what do you want me to teach? Right? What do you want me to teach? Yeah? Crown is explore your options. Let's open, right? Oh, the archangels. I love the archangels. Okay. There's some exciting things coming with the archangels, guys, to like taking the archangels to the next level soon. I can't tell you any more than that right now, but I'm a bit freaking excited about it because I'm deeply being called to do this. It's coming. I'm coming goosebumps. Every time you teach someone new, you teach yourself something new too. Big time. Yeah, it's like a different layer. Like, yeah. Third eye. Prayer will help this situation, yeah? Being able to see the truth. It's interesting, right? So in the third eye, in the crown, we're opening up to the options, and then it's like we're allowing that support in, and then at the third eye, at the third eye, how I always talk about the webs, and we're talking about like the relationship dynamics that go on, like through all the people, and it's like we see all the dynamics, we see past, present, future all at the same time, we see all of that, right? Sometimes that can be a little bit overwhelming and we're like, oh, which way do we go? Or I see all this stuff and I know all this stuff, like, what do I do? It's like, okay, we need to ask what we need to do. Yeah, we see it all, but then we need to ask, right? Because this is where I learned, through everything I've gone through. It's like I said to you guys, like, I don't even tell somebody what I do these days. Like, unless they ask me, I don't really, not lately, but, I know when I go out and I speak to people, I don't tell them what I do. I'm like, even some people send me a private message and they're like, so what are you doing? I'm like, have you seen my profile? Like, don't ask me that. You know what I mean? I'm like being a bit of a smart ass, but it's like, at the same time, I'm like, unless, that's just on Facebook, but in the street, I wouldn't just be like, oh, I do this, because you're going to freak people out, right? If they ask you, then they will, right? And this is this, right? We know so much information, we see so much information, we feel and sense. Our intuitive senses are switched on all the time. Sometimes that can be like information overload and we're like get overwhelmed and we're like, I need to like recluse from the world, right? But what we can do is we can ask Spirit what we're meant to do with that information. So if we're picking up something and we're sensing something, it's kind of like, do we say that to that person, or do we just hold space for it? Right? And that takes a practice to remember that. Because sometimes, and I know for myself, I'm like, I'm feeling this, and it's like, maybe I should have just sat with that, because sometimes pick up a lot more than people are aware of, like all the time, actually. Okay. All right, so at the ears, right? So it's like open, explore your options. Prayer will help the situation. We're seeing all this stuff. Well, what do I do with all that stuff, right? At the ears, we're listening. Oh, take your time making this decision. There we go, right? The ears are all about opening. The ears are all about receiving. The ears are all about listening. So we're like, oh, opening, getting all this information in. Oh, seeing the truth. What am I supposed to do with this? Okay, I need to just sit with it and listen. Hold space. Like I said, when I meet people on the street, I don't even tell them what I do unless they're going to ask me. I'll be like, how are you? You know, and even it's kind of like this whole thing around, you know, like even if they do ask me, I'm like, oh, so what was happening, you know, the other week for you? Like what we were speaking, you know, like it's like turn it back on them, right? Listening. We have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason, right? The best healers on the planet know how to listen at depth, using all of their intuitive senses and not speaking much. There's always, like it comes into space, like even when I'm with clients or in session, I'm like getting all this information. Do you want to hear it, right? And it's even like, you know, like I usually say that to people too, like if you meet people on the street or whatever, it's like, okay, so you were having a conversation, and as a healer, as we do, we receive all this information about it. Right? That's just what we do. Like this, we can't kind of switch that off, right? We just receive information all the freaking time. Yeah? That does not mean we even have to tell that person in front of us one single little aspect of it at all. Now you might think, well, what's the point of that? Well, this is where it comes into, what does this person actually need to know? I'm seeing all this information. When I say seeing, it's not, you might not actually see with your clairvoyance, right? But you might know the information, but what you're seeing is the bigger picture. Like, do you know what I mean? And I need to point that out because so many people are like, I can't see. Like, I know I say I see all the time. Do I see all the time? No. What I mean when I say I see is that my crown is picking up information through my claircognizance. I might get a vision or a memory pop back in my head, like a memory. What does a memory look like? Does that see something? Not really. It's just like a memory. Like, how do you describe a memory? Like, do you see it? Or do you know what I mean? I might hear something. I might get a strong feeling because I'm highly clairsentient, right? And then when I say I see what's going on, what that means is that, you know, as I said, at the third eye chakra, we're seeing the dynamics, we're seeing the web that person is in, we're seeing their father, we're seeing their mother, we're seeing all the dynamics, the generational stuff, like, but it's not like we're seeing it. But because we know it, because we see it, because we hear it, because we feel it, the third eye is all about the big picture. And we're putting all of our senses together and we're like, oh, this is the message coming through. Right? Sure thing, Matthew. Divine timing. Yes, how do I not feel others? You ask, right? You ask, and you can turn it down a little bit, right? I'll never recommend turning it off, you know, but on our organs, we've got dials, like radio dials, or tuning in frequency radio station with the old dials. Who has freaking dials on their radio these days? Do you know what I mean? Like, you know, the old radio dials. It's kind of like even just Bluetooth, like, hey Siri, like, can you just do this now? It's not even dials. So listening is the most powerful form of healing. Now what that does when you get all this information and you're like, oh, they all turned up. You get all this information and it's like, well, if I'm getting all this information, what's the point of me getting information if I'm not meant to share it with that person? If you get the message not to share it with them, don't freaking share it with them. I tell you what, it won't go down well. You want people to call you crazy? Don't do that, right? And so when you're receiving all this intuitive information and you ask internally, you know, you can have a zillion different conversations while somebody's having a conversation in front of you. Like I have conversations all the time while I'm on live stream and I'm teaching all the time, right? When you're receiving all this information about this person and they're telling you all their story or whatever the case is, what is happening, and you're receiving all this information, and it enables you to listen deeper. It enables you to hold space deeper, because not only are you listening, but you're feeling with all your clairsentience, you're feeling the depth of what's going on for that person. And it's like, this is like, you know, where I know for myself too, like when I'm really listening to someone, I'm like, I say intertwined with their energy, but I don't know if that's kind of what it is. But I notice that I'm like, have to really pull myself, it's like, I guess I just pick up energy so much that I'm fully feeling what they're feeling like all the time, right? And so when I'm listening, I'm using all of those senses to listen. And that person feels heard for the first time. Because you're not just listening, but you're feeling it. You're receiving the information. You've got a deep understanding of the dynamics of everything that's played out in their life, right? And you don't need to say a single word to them, because your presence, your vibration, right, of your frequency, of how tuned in and dialed in and tapped in and aware and conscious and whatever you want to put a label on it, that frequency of connection that you have, and feeling and sensing and shifting all of that, is what will shift them just by this. That's why if someone asks me something and I'm like, oh yes, this is going on, and then I turn it back on. So what was happening for you? Right? Because people just need to speak. Hey Cody, my man. It would be good in big groups, but now I've just learnt you actually can turn it down off. I don't think I would. Day to day. Yeah. Day to day. And okay, so I just want to point that out. So, because you said it too, Christine, how do I not feel everyone's stuff, right? So what I want to point out there, and I don't know when I was speaking about this. This is so weird. Maybe I was talking to a client about it. I don't know. I just had a visual of me walking around in my bedroom talking about this. So maybe I was talking to a client because I'm like doing my talking, because I wouldn't have been in live stream in my bedroom. It's weird. So what just came to mind when you said that, right? And this is so weird because it sounds like the picture I'm getting is like at a big like ballroom sort of thing, where it's not really a ballroom these days. That I would go to be like a festival, right? But I guess the sense is like, when you have that connection that I just spoke about, right? You're knowing things, you're picking up the dynamics, you're hearing, you're feeling, like all at once, all the time. And I'm going to talk about these big group things, like going into a big group, right? So when you walk into a room, or, and this is where even a shopping center, like anywhere, right? Prepare yourself. Make sure you're strong, like energetically. Make sure you've been taking care of yourself. Make sure you've been, doing all that, because that is the best form of protection. The best form of protection is being in your body and taking care of yourself. That does not mean that you won't pick up everyone's stuff, but what that means is that you're clearer in what you're picking up. Now, what happens in that space is, say, I'm going to use this example, right? So say it's like a ballroom. I don't know, it's coming to mind, right? This will heal some of my inner children. I always cried even when people talk to me. Yeah, interesting. So like we walk into a room, and I'm saying ballroom. It's like, I guess that's the visual I'm seeing. It's really weird because I guess that, it's like any space really. So there's people. I don't know the visual I'm seeing, and the message I'm sharing, for whatever reason, is like there's couples everywhere. Okay. And what happens is the night's going on and everyone's getting pissed or whatever it is, and it's like, there's a little bit of tiffs over here and a little bit of tiffs over here, and you're kind of in your own world. And the thing is, like, it's kind of the same. It's exactly the same as when, I speak about, addictions or drinking. I'm going to use the example for drinking alcohol. So when we're drinking alcohol, like, oh, I enjoy a drink. I enjoy a wine. I enjoy, if I'm going to drink, I drink top shelf liquor, like the hard, like vodka, whatever. Anyway, the point is that I will drink, but I will not ever drink to unconsciousness. No fucking way. No way. I need to stay conscious. I need to stay connected to my body. Why? Because it's the best form of protection. Doesn't mean that I won't feel a little bit tipsy or whatever like that, but I will never drink to unconsciousness. I know my limits. Again, values, boundaries, connection to self. Yeah? When you walk into a room, whether you're drinking or not, it's having the connection to yourself and your bubble of energy, right? Because you are going to sense you're going to have a conversation with somebody, and you're going to be having a conversation with somebody, and then you're going to be feeling the people behind you having a conversation. You're going to be feeling everything, right? Now, how you stay clear is in your connection to self and your bubble that is around you. But when you're conscious in that way, and it's kind of like, you can be tuning into the person that you're having a conversation with, and then might be feeling something, and you be like, look around, and they're having a little bit of a disagreement, and it's like, okay, cool. And because you've brought your attention to it, you might all of a sudden see the dynamics of everything playing out. That person might have, I don't know, had an argument at their work and they haven't dealt with it, and so they're bringing that energy into the space. It's kind of like you can walk into a room and be conscious of absolutely everyone's stuff and still be deeply connected to yourself and not take a single bit of it on. When you are conscious that you walk into a room, you're going to feel everyone's stuff. You're going to feel it. Does that mean that you have to block it out? Does that mean that you don't have to be conscious of it? No. Your conscious awareness of it is what will keep you clear. Doesn't mean that you have to figure it all out or analyze it or tell them, or it's just and you'll sense it. It'll be like a little kind of tapping. You'll be like, oh, you'll be like, okay, cool, that's going on over there. Cool, that's not my stuff. Yeah, that does come with practice and being conscious and aware of what you're picking up to. Yeah. Has to be one of your favorite live streams. I used to do that a lot. That's why I don't go near out. Yeah. I don't know my limits. Yeah. And that's the thing. It's just being very clear in your limits, being very clear in your energy, being very clear in your boundaries. Again, it's exactly what I started talking about at the start of this live stream. There's obviously a reason why I shared that. And that's putting into practice. I was covered in goosebumps, putting into practice all this energy stuff that we've ever learned. Right? This is how we walk it. This is how we integrate it from being an idea and a understanding to actually, well, how do we put that into practice? Yeah? You're going to pick up and sense everybody's stuff all the time, whether you go out or not, actually. Does that mean that it's your responsibility to fix it? No. Does that mean it doesn't take practice and stepping back from that? Yes. This is the throat. Decide to be happy now. The throat chakra. So from Monday, we're going to do a week on the throat. So are you guys ready for integration of the throat? Because remember we just were doing the Claire organs, and then it got to the Claire audience, and I'm like, we have to do the throat, right? And so I did a live stream on the throat, and then I'm like, no, we need to do a complete week on the throat. So from Monday is throat chakra week. We're going to dive deep into the throat and what that actually means. It is about living the truth. It's about your shadows. It's about the dark and the light. Now, everything that we've just shared about bringing that spirituality down, decide to be happy now. Look at the white wings and then look at the black stuff around, right? There is always stuff going around. When I say stuff, I mean people's emotions, their issues, the traumas they're carrying, all that stuff. It's stuff, right? And it's just friggin' human stuff, right? Doesn't mean it's bad, doesn't mean it's wrong, doesn't mean it's dark, doesn't mean it's light. It's just stuff. When you can decide to be happy in the dark and the light, doesn't mean that you have to get rid of one to be in the other. Doesn't mean that you have to be in this to be in, it doesn't mean that. It means deciding to be in all of it. And this, right, what I just spoke about, it's like you walk into a room, you feel everyone's stuff. Does that mean that you have to fix it? No. Does that mean that there's dark and light going on all the fucking time? Yes. Does that mean you have to wait until it's all just light, until you feel better? No. When you can really, and I say detach, but it's not a detachment, right? You're deeply connected and you deeply feel it all without being, I guess, attached to it in a way that you make it about you, right? We might feel stuff all the time, and then we get into this space of trying to figure out what it is, and sometimes we just need to be with it to shift it, right? We just need to be with it. And yes, that takes practice, right? Especially when it's in our space, right? The deciding to be happy now is knowing that it all exists on the scale all the time. This is the death and the rebirth cycle, right? This is where we're talking about the shedding of the snake's skin and all of that jazz. It's kind of it's always going to feel like death, right? As soon as we integrate one of our shadows, one of our lights also integrates. As soon as we become aware of something else will become aware on the other end of the scale. We live in a duality reality when we can be okay that it's all here, when we can decide to be happy now, even with the stuff in the space. That's when we're stepping into mastery. That's when we're stepping into how to be sane on this planet where we feel everything all the fucking time, right? We make a choice to be okay with the entire spectrum all the time. Sure thing, Matthew. Okay, heart. Lean on God and the angels for support. You don't need to do it all the time by yourself. Let that help into your heart. Just like the crown, we must open, right? Remember, at the crown automatically activates the heart chakra and allows that to come in, right? So when we are feeling everybody's stuff with everything I've just spoken about, and we come down through the chakras, right? And we're like holding space with somebody and we're like, what do we do with this? And like, do we need to voice this? Do we need to do that? And it's like, lean on the angels and the God for support, right? It sounds easy, but it is a practice. It is like it's a bit like practicing yoga, right? It's not like you do your asana on your mat and you get off and you're a fucking asshole or you're a bitch, right? It's like you bring the yoga off the mat and you live it every day. Again, this is a practice. So lean on God and the angels for support. It's like, so what was the message I was going to say then? Okay, so we're in this space. So we're like holding space for someone and we're feeling all this stuff, right? And it will feel bad and we'll feel like, say if we're picking up, we walk into a space and so we're picking up that somebody has been murdered in this space. Okay? Say we pick that up because that shit happens, right? What happens is that we can feel the grief of the person, of the anguish, of the pain, of the family and everything they're still going through and trying to figure it out. And maybe the murderer's murdered himself. Like it made it, do you know what I mean? Like you're going to sense all of that. The key to not getting overtaken or aware of it is like, okay, yeah, this is what happened. And again, this is why I teach and trust intuition, the first module about how to go through the grief cycle and stuff, because you might feel that pain. But when you also know that it's not yours to one process, and you're in that space, you're feeling it. Yes, so you might do an energy clearing or something like that, but you're feeling all the pain, you're feeling all the emotions, you're feeling all that stuff because it's teaching you the information and giving you the information about what you're feeling. It does not mean that you have to try and fix it or process it, or do you know what I mean? Like that soul might be still hanging around, so you might have to help them to cross over to the light. When you can feel stuff without making it about you, without like, and you might feel the grief and stuff, and it sounds a little bit cold what I'm talking about, right? Because I don't know why that example dropped in my head even. It's like, it might sound like it's cold, but it just means that you're receiving information. That's all your clairsentience is doing, is giving you information about what happened. Doesn't mean that you don't feel the pain. Doesn't mean that you might go, oh, fuck, that's pretty heavy, right? Or you might actually cry for several days about it, right? Distinguishing between everything, because we're going to feel stuff, we're going to take it on, and then if we're not clear about what's going on in the space with all the senses we've just spoken about, we're going to feel it in our body, and our brain's going to go, oh, what's that feeling? Oh, that reminds me of, oh, that's grief. Oh, okay, cool. I'm just going to bring up all this grief that I've never dealt with in my life and about every single thing that I've been heard about, and it's going to like filter and like, all your grief's going to come out because you're tapping into the energy of what's going on in the space, It's why it's like, so I'm always saying, I'm like, go through like the grief cycle, it's important to heal every freaking little hurt, and it might seem like a lot. But if you haven't done that and you're struggling with how to deal with being sensitive or being an empath or being a psychic or being a healer, like without burning out, without taking on everyone's energy and making it about you, and do you know what I mean? Like it's so important. It's so freaking important. It's so important. If you're going to step up and do this work, you must continually do your own work, or you will, I don't know, burn out. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of like essential part if you're going to do this work, if you're going to function in society. and not get overwhelmed or not get sick and tired of feeling so much all the time. It's really important to notice what feelings you're not feeling about your past, because that's when it gets heavy. That's when all your stuff will get triggered, and that it gives you an opportunity to deal with your own stuff. But when you don't deal with your own stuff, you make it about that, and then this still sits here, and that's what's exhausting. Yeah. So when you're feeling all this stuff, let's go back to the ballroom, and we're feeling everyone's stuff, and we're aware of the dynamics and blah, 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 right? What do we do at the heart chakra? We ask the angels for help. We ask our spiritual support for help. We're like, okay, or we expand our heart chakra energy, or we ask their guardian angels to help them, or we ask Archangel Michael to do a quick energy clearing. We don't need to even voice that to the person in front of us. We're doing that and asking Archangel Michael in our mind. We call upon the support and the recesses of your mind, the resources that you have available to you. Remember, as soon as the crown opens, straight into the heart, right? You have all these options and resources to pull in to be able to hold the space. You're not doing it on your own. Doing it on your own is exhausting. Doing it on your own is exhausting. Opening up and bringing that down, that energy is like that. Yeah, that's what sustains you. That's what fuels you. That's what gives you that, right? So we step into our power. That's what fuels your power. Ooh, honor and trust your feelings on the freaking solar plexus, of course. When you have that open support and it pulls straight down in, what happens? You stay connected, you stay clear, and you don't get confused about everyone else's stuff, which is exactly what I spoke about on the start of this freaking live stream. Okay, I see the bigger picture now. Got it. Sorry, I questioned you. Fucking hell. Right? Jeez. Hang on a sec. Oh my God. As if I pulled that card out for the solar plexus. Oh, Jesus Christ. Oh my goodness me. I blow my own mind. No, I expand my own mind. Like, I don't know, it's spirit sense of humor. It's, you know, like, if I need any more reasons to trust, it strengthens my trust. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, come on. Oh, come on. That was pure gold. Pure fucking gold. Just spirit's humor, the joy. Like, when you are open to support and resources, when you bring that down and you bring that into your heart space, it keeps you connected, keeps you clear so that you can trust yourself. Like, on the solar plexus, like, come on. Right, because then at the sacral, what does that enable you to do? It enables you to stay sustained and nourished because you're connecting to the right source always, right? So, I'm sorry, that's just... Okay, what's this one? Ooh, it enables you to... Oh my God, this is continuing to blow my mind a little bit. Sorry. This is like phenomenal, this live stream. I'm like, I don't know if I need to talk about this. And then I'm like, what am I... It's gonna happen when we hit down to the base. Okay. Do you guys get what I'm saying here? Oh, so keep your eyes on your targeted intention. What did I always say about the sacral chakra? The sacral chakra is where we are gestating our life purpose, our project, a baby, right? So when we're staying connected, like we're putting into practice everything we've just freaking learned, right? And we're bringing it down through our body into our sacral chakra. Like, so we're... This is still blowing my mind. We're opening up to receive the resources. We're not doing on our own. The crown chakra is about letting the resources in, right? The heart chakra automatically aligns. We're not holding space by ourselves. We're holding space with the freaking whole of the universe, right? The universe is holding space with us. That enables our connection to stay strong and honor and trust our feelings and not get confused or give our power away, which is exactly what I spoke about at the start of this live stream. And then keep your eyes focused on your targeting intention. It's like this, like connection and drawing that down. We're strong, we're clear, we're strong on our boundaries, on our values, what's important to us. We don't waver from that, right? Solar plexus, trust and intuition is born out of the solar plexus, right? That's why this card blew me even more. Because when we honor and trust, and this is what I always talk about, module 5 in Trust Your Intuition is about how you step onto your life purpose, right? Because in the sacral chakra, we're bringing all that knowledge, we're bringing it down, we're channeling it down into our sacral, we're birthing that, we're like, 9 to 10 months of like birthing that space of like gestating of like all that information and knowledge and bringing it down, rather than like, oh, I need help, and we're not grounded in our spirituality. We're not bringing that down, right? And gestating that in the sacral chakra, right? Keep your eyes on your target and intention so we don't get distracted, we don't get pulled off path. We're like connected to our real source. Remember, at the sacral chakra, it's like, are we plugging into like anything that can fill us up, or are we actually plugging into the right source so that it can fuel us to birth our life purpose? So let's see what the base chakra is. Positive thoughts create positive results. It's deeply dropping into mindset, which might sound weird at the base chakra, but this is where our ultimate power comes in, right? That we know, and again, this is tapping into what I spoke about at the start of this live stream. This is like the trust in our thoughts, the trust in our crazy ideas, and we're grounding them down and birthing them. Yeah, this is where we're trusting in spirit, because we know that these ideas are pouring in, explore your options are pouring in from spirit, and we're able to channel them down, not stay up here in our head and not ground them. This is about bringing them down and actually birthing them. Yeah, this is where our focus comes in. Keep your eyes on your target intention. Very easily to get distracted down here, right? Very easily to get pulled off path. But then when we are pulling that in and we stay strong in that connection by all the things we talk about, take care of ourselves, what nourishes ourselves, what does all that, right? We're able to birth that. There's something else about this. Focus. Oh yes. So like we know when we're talking money, so base chakra is money, finances, safety, security, sexuality. It's, what's the other? It's a physical environment. It's life purpose. We know that by the time we reach the base chakra, Jesus, we want to be careful about what we're focusing on, because we know our power and we know what we focus on is what we're manifesting. Yeah? We're being authentic in that and grounding it down. Yeah? Because for the integration, hey Chanel, I did see you, and as Samoy said, need to watch a replay because it's just like, okay. Okay, final integration. Oh. Your home is protected by angels, right? So interesting, right? That when we go through all this, your home is protected by angels. What did I say to you all the way up here? The best form of protection is being grounded in your body. When you are grounding down through all this information, through all the chakras, and you're grounding it, you are housed in your body, right? I've had so many people say to me, you're so grounded. And I'm like, what? It's like, it's being authentic with how you're feeling. It's not cut off. It's owning your dark and your light. It's learning to live in the duality. It's about being and dropping into the depths. How deep do you want to go? How much are you putting into action what you speak? Or just having these ideas and not fully grounding them? Every time, and I think I said this on the, I didn't think I said it on the throat. Maybe I did. It'll be interesting what comes up for throat chakra for us next week, guys. So it was a client, but I thought that I'd spoken about it on a live stream in here. Anyway, so it's like we get our ideas for our life purpose. We're open to receiving the help. We're like, oh, yes, we're seeing all the dynamics. We're hearing that. And then we're like telling everybody about it here. So the energy is like dispersed. And so it can't filter down. And this is where at the throat chakra, chrysocolla, from the liquid crystals, silence is about knowing when to speak and knowing when to be quiet. When, the throat chakra is about, of course, end of live stream, we're like stepping into throat chakra. So we're like at the shadow, and this is the decide to be happy now. This is the throat, right? We know the dark and the light. We know it's all there. What do we actually say, and what do we need to keep quiet? Whose truth are we swallowing? Or how about, is our truth filter switched on so we can swallow our own truth, right? We might get these ideas and we're like, we want to share them with the world. We're like, actually need to do it. So we're like swallowing our own truth. And do you know what that does? when we swallow our own truth instead of having all these ideas and not grounding them, what happens is like we are staying connected and pulling those ideas through into our heart. We feel supported. We're pulling all that still down. We're honoring and trusting ourselves because our connection is so super strong now, because it's not just, our connection's really strong because it's not just here at all these ideas. We're pulling all that energy, the connection, that strength, that power into our whole freaking body. So like people, you know, are like, oh, you're so grounded and everything, and I'm like, I don't know, is it, or is it I'm just connected, right? It's like, I don't know, what is that? And it's kind of like in that space, it's like, well, if you can think about it and actually have that connection, you're bringing down all those ideas and putting them into action, you're swallowing your truth, you're swallowing your power to be able to birth it, to do what you do. Now, as you said some more earlier, and you said something around every time we step up to teach, it's like we learn it in a different way, or whatever you said. And I'm like, yeah, it's a different layer, because instead of like just getting the ideas and like, oh yeah, this is a great idea, right? And this is where a lot of the spiritual people or whatever get stuck, and they step into righteousness, and it's like, well, it's this way and it's only this way and it's got to be done this way, and it's like, you know, this righteousness power, because they're not dropping into the depths, right? It's kind of like, well, if you really knew the truth, every single way is right. There's no wrong way. Every single way is just a part of the web that we're all here. And when we can do what we're here to do, what this connection does with our ideas is it creates our own energy, it creates our own momentum. What we're doing every time we get an idea and we're grounding that down into our physical body, all the way down to our base, so we're birthing it, meaning we're putting it into action, right? Not just thinking it, but the crown and the base are deeply connected. And when we can bring these two together, right? So you know how like each chakra has like a front and a back, yeah? At the crown and at the base, there's an opening and it comes down. It's like a big, like the torus flow, right? So it's like up and down, or it's like down and up. So if there's a blockage in any of these chakras, these two are also not going to be able to flow up and through. Does that make sense? So that's why I'm like, okay, let's work down through the chakras and like, you know, let's get both of these open as well, because it all interconnects. It's all flowing all the time. What happens and how do you do that? It's like you get an idea, you need to bring that down and put it into action. What happens if you don't? You're going to stay connected to your head, so it's not very grounded because you're here. So it's like, you know, the energy is not very strong, your vibration isn't as high, blah, 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 because you're not grounding that vibration down by taking action on those crazy ideas that you're getting, right? So every time you put that into action, what happens is you're like almost putting another layer of vibration. You're like, oh yes, like you want to talk about upgrades? Let's talk about upgrades. Like every single time, right? Because then your body becomes strong with that vibration. Your home is protected by angels. It's like, yes, your protection comes from your connection. Oh my God, I love that one. That is so cool. Can somebody write that down? Your protection comes from your connection. I love it. This has been a good live stream. I like it. That's so cool. I love it. Oh, look, and I just looked at the bottom card of the deck. You have created this situation and you have the power to change it. That is very, very base chakra. Yeah? I love that. Your protection comes from your connection. It's like the best thing on the planet, because everyone, you know, and when we really drop into the depth of that, right? Let's just speak to that for a minute. When we drop into the depth, your protection comes from your connection. When you are connected, you feel safe. You want to amplify your intuition? Work on feeling safe. Safety comes all the way down into the base chakra. We're either in fear or we're even in trust. And you know how I said at the base chakra, it's like your fire that lights up the rest of the chakras, right? If you're in fear in your base, all the others are going to be carrying that fear as well. Yeah? Penny has dropped. Yes! Right? Want to amplify your intuition? Let yourself feel safe in the world, meaning safe in your body, safe in your base, right? Your home is protected by angels. When you have that connection, you feel safe. Yeah? Oh, that's your life purpose in liquid crystals. Oh, there we go. Of course it is. All right, guys, that was a pretty powerful live stream. I like it. That was awesome. That was so good. If you missed the start of the live stream, you want to be watching the replay. So next week, as I said, will be throat chakra. Again, it will be very interesting what comes through, because I know how like we've gone through, and I was like, so it was just interesting because I'm like, we need to honor the throat, and it felt like we're going to do a week on the throat next week, and then I'll obviously schedule when the throat live stream will be as well. And regardless, even though the throat's not technically done, all the current ones that are finished will be available on my website probably by the end of the week, working on that. So I'm a bit excited about that too. It's gonna be cool. It's gonna be cool, and I'm really excited because it's not just the, like, say for example, the heart's chakra live stream is actually kind of below it is like every other live stream I've ever spoken about the heart or relationships or anything like that to do with the heart. So it's going to be like a powerhouse of resources. I'm like finally starting to put everything together in an organized way, and that didn't come without doing this live stream, this free intuition training that comes through an idea in the training. I was like, in August, it was like, start the clear intuition training for free in the group, like in September. And I'm like, okay. And then look what it's turned into, right? And it's like birthing my life purpose, because I just did that whim of like, it's only supposed to be 4 weeks of get clear intuition, and look what it's turned into, like 3 months of like free, like exponential growth of freaking thing. Like it might stay free in February, but I'm not sure, because I'm just like, I don't know what I'm doing with this, but I can feel it's evolving and changing already. And I'm like, okay, it's going to be free until February. I know that much. In February, I'm not sure what's happening, but you've got that time to do it as well. So is there anything else I needed to say? Okay, so as we're already speaking into the throat, as we're already stepping into the throat, right? Even though it will start next Monday, we're going to be in the throat chakra energy, which is about obviously not just speaking your truth, but living your truth, i.e. swallowing your own truth and putting it into action. Not speaking it to everybody, but speaking it to your soul. What does your soul need you to do? Speaking to your internal resources to be able to put it into action. It is shadow work, yeah? So it is the light and the dark. It is about everything that's in front of us is a deep reflection of us. It is that everything we're saying about somebody else is actually what we're saying back to ourselves, right? We've got 3 fingers pointing back to ourselves, right? So every time you start judging somebody or having feelings about somebody, look within yourself. Yeah, there's something starting to surface within yourself, because when we're dropping into the throat, we're dropping into the subconscious, right? It's kind of like we talk about the tip of the iceberg thing. It's like 10% conscious mind, 90% subconscious. This is how the human body currently operates. Whether or not that changes, possibly, don't know, right? But every time we become conscious of something, we become a realization. Yeah, and then what happens is that like the penny will drop, right? And then what happens is that something else will surface, and we like might feel a bit uncomfortable, and it's like, okay, and then like something else will become aware, and we're like, okay, cool, it's coming up to release, right? That can get a little bit tiring if you don't really do the work and you're trying to push down whatever's coming up, right? So this is where it steps into, you know, knowing your truth, being able to live it, i.e. doing the inner work and the outer work that you know you need to be doing, right? There's something that you're speaking about and you're not actually putting it into action. It's kind of like, okay, well, what part am I fearing of actually doing that? And then there could be like opening up like a whole plethora of like, well, it could be past life, could be this, blah, blah, blah. Keep an eye out soon in the in the public space very soon. I will be dropping the ultimate package for healing any relationship. I'm currently filming in the third eye chakra, and the phenomenal stuff that's coming through. I'm like, wow, this is like, everybody needs to know this. So I will be releasing, it will be a little paid training, just like past life meditation or something. I don't know, but it's literally like the sacred keys for healing any friggin' relationship. It gives you the steps to be able to do your internal work, gives you all the tools, obviously, to be able to drop into like, what is underneath the space? Like, what is going on? Well, how do we do that? That is coming out very soon, because I got excited. I was like, I'm like, the third eye's expanded my mind so much already. So I'm looking forward to releasing that to you guys soon as well. So I will post in the group when we're doing the throat chakra live stream. It'll kind of be Friday, Saturday week, so a good week away, but we'll be starting the throat chakra week on Sunday, Monday. Be mindful, we're going to be in the energy of it for the next 2 weeks though, okay? Almost 2 weeks. Okay, lots of love to you too, Tamsin. Thanks so much for joining me live, guys, all around the world. I know so many of you around the world. And have a beautiful, beautiful evening or morning or afternoon, wherever you are in the world. And I love you guys heaps. Namaste.